Hello everyone. This is a video about disabilities, and I am someone who has both disabilities that are easy to see. I have my wheelchair here. It takes me around, especially when my legs aren't working very well, and other disabilities that you can't see. And either way, there are a lot of ways that those impact life that people don't necessarily notice. In a number of the comments and responses to the disabilities thing and talking about crip face, people have said that they've never really thought about it before. It's not something they really see. And I get that. Like, if you don't use a wheelchair, for example, you might not know that there are certain ways that you can get around campus, and if those ways aren't open and available, it's almost impossible to move from one place on campus to the other. And if you're not in a wheelchair, you might not notice that. Last week, I was involved in a symposium at the university, and I took the bus to get to the university, and then was trying to get down into the Wood Center, which is where it was being held. And all of the stairs had the snow removed, but the area between where the bus stop was and getting into the Wood Center still had snow there. It hadn't been removed. And I am lucky that I can walk, especially if I have something to lean on most of the time. So I was able to, well, it took a little while to push myself for a little ways because the snow was about 5 inches, maybe even a little deeper than that. Sit for a little bit, let myself rest, and then push some more, and then sit for a little bit, and then get the rest of the way there. The reality is that while it's important for people to not slip on the stairs, I absolutely think we should be doing that. The only way from a bus stop on campus to get into the Wood Center, which is then how you get into the rest of lower campus, just wasn't shoveled. And so I went and talked to one of the people who worked at the Wood Center and let them know the problem and asked them to, make sure to take care of it. And when I left, someone was picking me up, so I didn't actually go that way to go out. When I came the next day, it still hadn't been shoveled. And so I went again and talked to the manager at that point to say, hey, this is really a problem. If someone is coming to campus using public transportation, which especially people who, use wheelchairs, not all of us can drive. And so, it's either a taxi or a friend or the bus to get us here, that it's really kind of a problem. And it's something that people oftentimes don't see because they don't really understand why it's a problem, or they haven't really thought about it. And when they're trying to decide what's most important, I actually, the first day when I talked to someone, they said, oh, well, we told them to please get the stairs so that people wouldn't slip. And I was like, that's great. I mean, obviously things need to be prioritized, but it's really problematic for the woman in the wheelchair who then, if I was less able, I would have just been stuck. And either way, like, that's something that people shouldn't have to do. So I think that with that, a lot of times thinking about disabilities and thinking about how we understand disabilities and how we then talk about them, it is actually really important that you have people who know what it's like there in the portrayal. And it's part of why I think that crip face, well, not at the same level as, whitewashing movies, it is still really problematic, because if you have someone who is not disabled portraying someone who is disabled, you don't have to actually deal with the disability. You don't have to actually have someone get in a wheelchair and get into the position that you want to for the film. You can have them walk there and bring the wheelchair, and you don't have to think through all of the different things that go with that. And it's part of why I think it really is important that if we're going to tell the stories of people who are disabled, when at all possible, we should be using people who are disabled to tell those stories, to portray those people, because the portrayals are going to be a lot more accurate. And they're probably going to be less kind of inspiration porny, because we don't want to be inspirational just for existing. We want to do things. We want to be able to get places. We want to be involved. I definitely want to be able to get from the bus stop into the conference center so that I can be there and part of what's going on with that, because I think that's really important. Like, if there's an inspiration thing, it's that, not that I got up and out of bed today, it's that when I went to do something, it was something that I was passionate about. And so I think it's just really important that I get that for a lot of people, the reason they didn't have a problem with it before is because they hadn't thought about it. But I'm just asking you to think about it. I'm asking you to think about it both for disabilities that you can see, but also for mental health disabilities that you can't see. That there are a lot of things that are difficult, and that difficulty is important to portray accurately. So I hope this gave you some things to think about. Are there things that you wish people knew about what's difficult for you? Are there things that you wish more people talked about and understood? I'm certainly interested in hearing your thoughts on this as well.